Good evening. Good evening. Thank you all for being here. My name is Jasmine Butler, and I am the Administrative Director for Congresswoman Shontel Brown. And we are thrilled to have you here for the Congresswoman's first Town Hall for 2025. Before we begin, I'd like to share a few housekeeping items with you. First, please take a moment to silence your phones so that we can all have a fully present experience in tonight's Town Hall. If you need to step out for any reason, please note that the restrooms can be located right behind you where you entered through the back doors. We ask that you move quietly as not to disrupt the program. Now to begin our evening, please join me in welcoming members of the Congresswoman's Youth Advisory Council, OH-11 and Kingston Seals, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. They will be followed by Lisa Farmer-Cole, the Chief of External Affairs for the Cleveland Municipal School District. Please welcome them as they come.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. As Jasmine shared, I am Lisa Farmer-Cole, and I proudly serve as the Chief External Affairs Officer for the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. And it is my distinct pleasure to introduce a true advocate and servant leader, Ohio's 11th District Representative, Congresswoman Shontel Brown. CMSD is honored that Congresswoman Brown chose the Arnold Pinckney East Professional Development Center to host her town hall. She has been a steadfast supporter and friend of our district, always standing with our students, families, and educators. Before she takes the stage, I'd like to share a few highlights about her remarkable leadership. Congresswoman Brown made history as the first woman and first African American to serve as Cuyahoga County Democratic Party Chair. Within 48 hours of being sworn into the United States House of Representatives, she championed the bipartisan infrastructure law, bringing jobs to Northeast Ohio, improving public transportation, delivering clean water to families, and expanding access to high-speed internet. She supported the Build Back Better Act, specifically advocating for an extension of the child tax credit and universal pre-K for all 3- and 4-year-olds. Understanding the needs of our students, she introduced legislation to expand access to healthy meals after school through the National School Lunch Program. And she continues to empower young people by establishing her Youth Advisory Council, which includes 7 CMSD students, and introducing the Expanding the Health Care Workforce Act to help students pursue careers in healthcare and address workforce shortages. And perhaps most notably for us tonight, she is one of our own, a proud CMSD alum and John Adams High School graduate. Congresswoman Brown understands the power of education and the promise of our students. And I mean this with the utmost sincerity. It is my honor and privilege to welcome Congresswoman Shontel Brown.
I want to start off by thanking you, Lisa, for the introduction, and thank you to the Cleveland Metropolitan School District for making this venue available tonight. I wanted to say, as a proud graduate of John Adams High School, I am a strong supporter of CMSD in our public schools across Northeast Ohio. I'd also like to thank you all for being here. I am so inspired by this crowd tonight. And I also would be remiss if I did not highlight my staff who are here with me throughout the room. Take a look. You'll see my Chief of Staff is actually off to the side, Connor Fryer, Deputy Chief of Staff and District Director Kimberly Edwards, Administrative Director, who you've all met, Jasmine Butler, and Communications Director Will McDonald taking pictures. And joining them is the rest of my district team, Naomi Harden, Amber Joyner, who's working vigorously in the front, Breon Pittman Jr., Jarrett Sherman, Aaron Stever, Alexandria Johnson, and Emily Cervanka. We have a lot to cover tonight, so if you'll just give me the grace of allowing me to share some remarks, then I will open up the floor for your questions, because this is just as much about hearing from you as it is about me giving you some updates and speaking. So, as your representative in Congress, my job is to serve you, advocate for your concerns, and ensure your voice is heard in Washington. Right at the top, I want to highlight a few figures that speak to the work that my office did last year to serve our district. We returned over 1.4 million back to constituents through casework, bringing the total return to constituents since I took office to over $5.3 million. Thank you. So please, please, please remember, if you or someone in your community needs assistance with a federal agency or receiving federal benefits, we are here to help. I am pleased to share that since 2021, we have secured over $37 million in community project funding for 28 worthwhile projects and programs across Northeast Ohio. And thank you. And just last year alone, my team closed just under 900 cases and helped us host or attend over 300 community meetings. I also want to highlight some upcoming events from our office. The first one that we will have is a Passport Day on March 8th. We're going to have 2 coffees with your Congresswoman next month. And we are going to have our Small Business Expo and Housing Expo late spring, early summer. So be sure to follow us on social media and stay in the loop on those events. I am proud to announce, in an effort to make sure that my office is more accessible to folks across Cleveland, we are going to start on March 17th. We are launching our satellite office program. Constituents will be able to make an appointment to meet with their staff, with our staff in Cleveland Ward 13, Cleveland Heights, Garfield Heights, Mayfield Heights, Richmond Heights, and Warrensville Heights. I want to send a special thank you to Cleveland Councilwoman Jasmine Santana for helping us out with this program, as well as our local mayors. And if you have any questions about these events or satellite office appointments, please contact my staff in the room. Thank you. So now, let's get down to business. So, we're all seeing what's happening in Washington. And I know you're feeling it, and I'm overwhelmed too. And that is their goal, right? They are trying to overwhelm us and distract us. It's Greenland one day and paper straws the next. They're hoping to catch us off guard or get us to the point where we are so tuned out that they can just gut government programs and pass massive tax cuts for their billionaire donors and wealthy corporations, and we wouldn't notice. Trump and his allies want to pull back our progress, dismantle our democracy, defy the law, and stop investments in communities like ours. Make no mistake, Project 2025 is here. Did you see Trump's official portrait? He's sending a message, y'all. Trump and his allies are trying to reshape the country and remove all checks and balances. They've pardoned the people that attacked the Capitol and assaulted law enforcement on January 6th. They've repealed federal policies preventing discrimination and promoting equal opportunity. They've bullied our federal workers relentlessly and fired them indiscriminately. They've attempted to illegally freeze all federal grants, and Trump has done all of this without taking one, I repeat, one single action to lower the costs of gas, goods, and groceries. In fact, costs are rising again. And then there's this guy. Elon Musk, the richest man in the world who is unelected, unconfirmed, and most concerning, unvetted. Trump has granted him unprecedented access to federal payment systems, taxpayer data, and even the data of people who just applied for student loans. Musk has shut down USAID and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is the watchdog that has returned some $21 billion to Americans cheated by banks, credit card companies, and predatory lenders. They claim Musk is finding waste, fraud, and abuse. And yet, during week 1, they fired more than a dozen inspector generals, the very individuals who tracked down real waste, fraud, and abuse. So let's be clear. Musk and Trump want to dismantle the government from within and sell it for parts. Just last week, they fired staff responsible for ensuring our skies and airports are safe, key public health staff tracking the growing case of bird flu crisis, and experts tasked with monitoring our nuclear stockpile. This isn't government efficiency, y'all. This is government incompetence. And it's a classic bait and switch. There's a Republican president and a Republican House and a Republican Senate. They have the opportunity to fulfill their promise to lower the cost of living. And yet, they have no ideas, no programs to lower the high cost of living. They don't even have concepts of a plan. In fact, the prices of gas, goods, and groceries are going up. Look no further than the egg aisle, okay? And they couldn't care less. Why? Because the number one priority for President Trump and Republican leadership is to pass massive tax cuts for the wealthy and big corporations. So what happens when you cut taxes for people with all the money? Well, I'm glad you asked. The government then has less money to spend. For every dollar they give back to Elon Musk as a permanent tax cut, they've got to pay for it by cutting spending. That means the greedier they get on one end, the more people in Northeast Ohio are going to suffer on the other. So just last week, Republicans introduced their budget for the Trump tax scam, 2.0, and here's what it does. It provides a $4.5 trillion tax cut for the wealthiest Americans, paid for by cutting $880 billion from Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act premium assistance, jeopardizing the health care of 300,000 people in Ohio's 11th congressional district.
It calls for more than $300 billion in cuts to SNAP, that's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, threatening the pantries of 160,000 people in our district. And for cutting billions from the student loan programs, Head Start, and more, under this plan, the top 0.1%, not 1%, the 0.1% of Americans, those making more than $3.5 million a year. Is that anybody in this room? They would get a $315,000 average annual tax cut. They want to pass massive tax cuts for billionaires and their donors and the wealthy corporations, and then stick us with the bill by slashing and burning things like Medicaid to the ground. And what else has happened last week? Well, Elon Musk started talking about Social Security and the child tax credit. This is serious, y'all. They will try to cut anywhere they can because they want that money for themselves. Trump and Musk do not care about safe air travel. Why? Because they don't fly commercial. They don't care about education. No one they know goes to public school. They don't care about the cost of food because they aren't shopping at Dave's and Giant Eagle like we are. President Trump is going to try to turn the economy upside down, stop foreign aid, undermine civil rights, immigrants' rights, reproductive rights, LGBTQ rights, and voting rights, and more. But this is how we're going to respond. We have to fight this agenda in the Congress, in the courts, and the community. Can y'all say that with me? The Congress, the courts, and the community. So let's start with the Congress, because this is about communication and legislation for us. I am going to use every platform I have to speak up and speak out for the people of Northeast Ohio. I truly believe that even Trump voters, the people of this country, do not want this agenda, but they have to know that it's happening. So we're going to advance a positive legislative agenda to try to expand opportunity, and we're going to continue pushing solutions that lower the cost of living and support hardworking families that are living paycheck to paycheck. And we're going to fight them on every vote that does not do that. And right now they have a majority of just 3 votes in the House. It's 218 to 215. We say all we need is 3. But if we just flip 2 Republicans, because a tie vote can win, that's a win for us. Now, thank you. Now let's talk about the courts. Right now, there are more than 65 different lawsuits that have been filed in response to at least 25 of Trump's unlawful executive orders. Trump has been so incredibly lawless that he's getting sued in federal court more than twice a day. And the American people are actually winning those lawsuits. Now look, I know the courts aren't perfect, and Trump has appointed allies up and down the docket. But you know who really cares about federal law? Federal judges. So this will continue to be an important battleground. And finally, we need to fight the Trump agenda in the community. That's you. And we are going to fight for every neighborhood, every school, every city in this district. I talked about our casework numbers at the top, and if that's where we have to fight, we'll fight there too. And fighting Trump in the community also feeds into the battle in Congress and the courts. We have a portal on our website where people can share their story. We were flooded with hundreds of calls, and we want to hear from people who have been terminated, who want to hear from their local governments and nonprofits and schools and fundings whose funding has been illegally frozen because they are trying to do this under the cover of darkness. So we all need to communicate. We need to communicate with each other, within our networks, and the wider community. And finally, I want to let you know some of the things I'm doing to fight back. I've authored legislation to codify civil rights era anti-discrimination policies that Trump rescinded. I'm happy to say my bill is up to 48 co-sponsors in the House, but that's nowhere near the 218 that we need. It's also backed by one of the top Democrats. In fact, he's the top Democrat on the Judiciary Committee. You may know him, Jamie Raskin. And that list is growing. I've also co-sponsored the Taxpayer Data Protection Act to stop Elon Musk and his Doge bros from being able to access the Treasury Department payment system so that we can protect your data. I joined my Democratic colleagues on the Oversight Committee in attempting to subpoena Elon Musk, which was unfortunately blocked by the Republicans on the committee. Now I'm going to go a little bit off script, because if everything he's doing is so good, then why is he not willing to come before the committee? I also wrote a letter demanding answers from the Trump administration after he signed an order that made it harder for Medicare to negotiate lower costs for prescription drug prices. And as the top Democrat on the Cybersecurity Subcommittee on Oversight, I wrote to the Treasury's acting Inspector General asking for an investigation into Musk's improper access to sensitive data. And just last week, I heard an investigation was open. That's the power of our pen. If you follow me on social media, you may have seen that I've joined my colleagues outside the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and on the Capitol steps, and earlier today with union workers at the Federal Building to call attention to the unprecedented assault on federal workers and everyday people that's taking place. And I've joined 150 Democrats in writing to the White House demanding a list of the projects that the Trump administration is pulling funding for. The bottom line is, we are not dealing with an administration that is being transparent and certainly not being collaborative. And it's incredibly frustrating because Democrats in Congress are in the same position you're in. They're not telling us what they're doing. They're not explaining things. They're not connecting us with the agencies. Because the truth is, they don't care. They want to break everything that they can break and get away with whatever they can while they can. So for a lot of your questions tonight, I'm just going to be completely honest. We may not know the answers yet. But we are resourceful, we are relentless, and we will do everything we can to get you the answers that you need. So finally, if you care about what's happening, I need you to be with me. Help call out what needs to be called out. Help us find solutions. Help us find alternatives. And help us let people know that they have not been left behind. Because I refuse to slip into despair, dejection, and desperation. So thank you all for being here. I look forward to your questions.
Hello.
Thank you. If you give me 1 second. Thank you, Congresswoman. At this time, if you have questions for the Congresswoman, we ask that you line up behind one of the two microphones in the aisles near the center. We want to take as many questions as possible with the time that we have, so we ask that you limit your questions to 30 seconds. If you hear a question that is similar to what you're asking, we ask that you forego that question so that we can get as many questions as possible. Please state your name, the city you're from, and then ask your question. To get us started, Margaret Wong, who couldn't be here tonight, asked, Congresswoman Brown, would you please address the current situation regarding immigration?
So the immigration issue is something that Donald Trump campaigned on, said that he would implement mass deportation, and that's something that he has been doing successfully. There are about 97,000 immigrants in Cuyahoga County, and they are our neighbors, they are our colleagues and our friends, and these ICE raids aren't just abstract threats, they are happening right here in Northeast Ohio. So I just want to say we're not here to try to score political points. I'm committed to working with Republicans to find real solutions to our broken immigration system. The fact of the matter is, Trump has tried to demonize immigrants, and this is sort of an unnecessary enforcement in our community, and it's cruel, but it also leaves our communities less safe. People are afraid to go to work, people are afraid to send their kids to school. There was just a story on the news today about a child who was being bullied because her classmates were threatening to call ICE. So we have put together some information to assist people, and we will make sure that you get that. But when you target everyone for issues like this, you hurt communities. You hurt communities. So trust and believe we're going to continue to stand up and fight and make sure that we are protecting those who are here legally trying to seek citizenship, and that includes modernizing our border infrastructure, and again, finding some real solutions to our broken immigration system. So thank you for the question.
Yeah, Nathaniel Martin, how are you? And thank you for all you've done and you're doing. My question is, I voted for you at the Board of Elections early. And what can we do to have more locations to vote in each municipality in your district? What can we do about that?
Thank you, Councilman. So this is an issue that we've taken up at the federal level through the Voting Rights Act. That is going to be even more challenging to pass with this Trump trifecta. But it's also something that our state legislators and our Secretary of State should be able to address. They are the ones right now who control the precincts and how the voting areas are attributed. So that is something that we'll have to push through the state legislature as well and hold our Republican-led state leaders accountable for that. But we can count on me at the federal level to continue to support issues around the preserving and codifying the Voting Rights Act. Thank you.
Angel Washington, Cleveland. Are you worried about a government shutdown? And if so, what does that mean to us and our families? My brother's a federal police officer, and he's worried like crazy about this.
Thank you for the question. So, am I worried about a government shutdown? Absolutely. As we see these actions taken by Donald Trump and Elon Musk as they are incrementally and incessantly attacking federal workers and closing agencies and shutting them down, they're already leading up to a shutdown. So what does that mean? That means that military workers, people like your brother, will have to unfortunately work without being paid. Many of them will be furloughed, and so it is not going to be a pleasant time. But this is something that they have been trying to do since the last Congress. But thanks to leaders like Hakeem Jeffries and Democrats, we were able to prevent that. But right now, this is a Trump trifecta, y'all. They have the House, they have the Senate, and they have the White House. So if there is a shutdown, it is them. They said they have a mandate to get the things done. Well, it's ironic that they haven't used the Congress to get things into legislation. They've just been using and abusing the power of the pen by executive orders. But yes, I do anticipate there will be a government shutdown.
Donna Pope, South Euclid. Aside from my displeasure in what's going on in Washington, D.C., what is the Democratic leadership doing so we can start addressing 2026 and beyond?
I appreciate the question. So I will say this to try to balance the delicate line of remaining impartial and official, because these are official channels, but in our caucus, our leaders are fighting. We have, again, the three-pronged approach: the Congress, the courts, and the community. The community is going to be a critical part of this legislation. Of this plan of action. Because we'll do the legislative part, the courts will do the litigation, but we need you to amplify the communication. A lot of people feel like, what are Democrats doing? We don't hear you. Well, we're on social media, but our things don't get amplified the way some of our other colleagues might. So it's incumbent upon those of you who, if you aren't following me on social media, I would encourage you to do so. And if you see something that you like, I would respectfully ask that you repost it so that we can get the message out. That is what this is going to take. It's going to take all of us working, because from this platform, I can't tell you to call the Republicans. I can't do that from here. I can't do that from here.
Good afternoon or good evening, Congresswoman. Thank you for your leadership. Can I take this off? I saw in the paper that Senator Moreno sent a letter regarding Cleveland consent decree. Do you support that?
So the consent decree is a delicate matter, and thank you for bringing up the question. The consent decree is what it is. It was implemented by the DOJ, but now it's up to the federal judge. It's not something that we as members of Congress or even a senator can voice or decide or say that we want it to go one way or another. And what we have seen is significant progress from the consent decree. So the hope is that we will be able to move forward so that we are no longer under the consent decree. But I think that Senator Moreno kind of overstepped his role. He is new to politics and governing.
Good evening, Congresswoman. Thank you once again for your leadership. Good evening, Congresswoman. Thank you for your leadership. I don't want to say my name because I am a current fellow employee and I am currently still working. However, it's very challenging. The workplace has changed since January 21st, the first day that Trump took office. It's a very depressing place at this time. Currently, we are going through a RIF, and we know this because we hear it on the news, we hear it in the papers. However, we have not been formally told how that's going to occur.
I can hear. I'll repeat the question.
Yes. We have not been told how that is going to happen formally. We have not gotten any documentation. So every day we go to work, computers locked out. It's just awful. Let me just say that. What are you guys doing to ensure that whatever process that has to happen legally for us tenured employees is going to happen, and we're not just going to go to work, because we should have certain protections because we've been with the federal government for over the period of time with the probationary staff that they just recently let go last week.
Thank you for the question. In short, the question is, what are we doing to help protect tenured employees? And so that is a great question. There is litigation, again, regarding the erroneous terminations. In some instances, what we're finding is people who were seasoned employees, have been around for a long time, they have been given promotions and terminated erroneously because they think that they are only been with the government or in that particular position for a short period of time. So the courts are looking at that, and we are going to stand with you, as I was today, again, with several unions down at the federal building fighting against this mess that they have caused.
Hi, thank you for being here and informing us tonight. My name is Gil Kudrin. I'm a person living with AIDS, and I have been fighting for access to HIV meds since 1987. The Ryan White Care Act was never reauthorized in the House, so it is discretionary spending, and in Project 2025 is slated to be completely cut. Cuyahoga County is one of the top 48 counties in the United States for new HIV infections. There are going to be thousands and thousands of people lose their access to HIV meds, and I'm asking, some of your staff is coming to a town hall next week that the LGBT Community Center is having to raise the alarm that these funds are going to disappear, and you will have constituents, thousands and thousands of them, lose access to their HIV meds and get sick and die very quickly. I'm old, and I've been on meds since AZT came out. Will you help us find a way to stockpile HIV meds? like some states have done to stockpile methopressone because women are going to lose their right to access that drug possibly?
Thank you for the question. So the question, if you didn't hear it, is will we help stockpile HIV medicine? And I can assure you that I'm going to do everything that I can to protect my constituents. This is the first I've heard of that. I will get my staff and team on it so that we can look and see what possible remedies we have for that. But this is the thing, and I want to circle back to the previous lady. These are real life situations. They're looking at things and they are cutting things erroneously without putting a name or a face to them. We have a link on our website. I am encouraging you to please go to the website so that we can track and monitor these incidents that are being caused by funding freezes or potential funding freezes. It is very helpful when we are crafting our narratives, when I'm on committee, when I'm doing hearings. That information is critical. So please, 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 please use the website.
Hello, Congresswoman. I'm Dr. Candace Price. I practice in East Cleveland and I live in University Heights. I had the honor of meeting Connor down in Washington a couple weeks ago. And he has a little more information about what I'm going to talk about if you need more on that later. But one of the big problems that faces a lot of our seniors in East Cleveland and in our local community is the fact that Medicare's coverage for chiropractic exams and other treatments is very poor, and Medicare covers other services to other providers and other treatments like opioids very well. So it's currently cheaper for patients to see their medical doctor and get an opioid prescription than it is to see a chiropractor. So would you support something like the Medicare Modernization Act, HR 539? And if you need more information on that, I'd love to hear more about what you're doing to combat the opioid epidemic.
Well, thank you for the question. As a person coming from local government, that was something that we were very actively engaged in as a county council member. So you gave the number, and I chuckle because we get thousands of bills. So I'm sure my staff has caught the number. We're recording this, so I will definitely look into it and follow back up with you. And thank you for coming again out tonight. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Alan Newlon, and I'm from University Heights. Sometime around 2010, the Supreme Court passed or approved the Citizens United situation, and I believe in the last 15 years that's proven to be a big problem for all these giant corporations and these Musks and all that have all this money that they're throwing at these candidates. I wonder if there's any talk about trying to repeal Citizens United.
There's always talk, and I've been a supporter of repealing Citizens United because because of Citizens United, Elon Musk bought him a president for $300 million. So.
Good evening, Bob Close from Cleveland Heights. I believe sustainability is not an option, it's an ultimatum. And so when in one of his first executive orders, the president called our current energy situation an emergency, that allowed him to weaken emission standards and to drill, baby, drill, wherever. I'm hoping that you will be able to find a way, with the help of your colleagues, to take the emergency status out of that order and demand that the president somehow justify that status. Because if you can't justify emergency, all of these freedoms that he's going to take go away.
Thank you for that. Duly noted, and my staff will look into it. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hi, Representative. I'm Nakshatra Mohan, and we all know what's going on at in the Capitol right now with education is specifically what I want to talk to you about. There's talk about removing the Department of Education, and I'm wondering what will you do for the youth of Northeast Ohio?
Thank you for the question. So we know, again, I am a proud graduate of Cleveland Public Schools, and ending the Department of Education would threaten the future of millions of students, particularly those in low-income communities and special needs. So it would make it harder for districts like CMSD to retain teachers. So I am in full support of the Department of Education Act, which would prohibit the use of appropriated funds to be used to decentralize and reduce staffing at the Department of Education. So we've got legislation. Again, all we need is 3.
Hi, Congresswoman Brown. I'm Deb Lonzer, and I'm a pediatrician. I live in Beechwood. I am horrified and disgusted by what's happening to science research and what will happen to our ability to get immunizations. But also, more broadly, I lived the American dream and my kids can't. And as we look at how to combat this, and you say Congress, courts, and community, I've never marched, rallied, or done anything like that before, and I'm doing it now. But thank you.
Thank you.
But we have a man who calls himself king, behaves like a dictator, and essentially has a state media that supports all of his lies. How will the Congress and the courts, he doesn't, if the courts find what he's doing illegal, he says, meh, and he keeps on doing it. How will these institutions be able to actually combat him?
I appreciate the question, yes. I think that's what's brought us all here tonight, right? And when I talk about the community, and I applaud you for being here, and many, I would say, raise your hands the first time you ever come to a town hall meeting. Okay? So give yourselves a round of applause. But people are waking up, and you know, those that decided to be uncommitted or vote couch, we're feeling the ramifications of that, right? And so it is incumbent upon us to really, if this is an all hands on deck moment, if we've never had it before, now is the time. I am one of 215 Democrats. There are thousands, millions when you go beyond the district of people. We have to use our voices. We have to push back. You have to get the information out there, because to your point, there are a lot of, this is another thing that we're doing, we're going into spaces and places that we traditionally might not have gone, because we know that legacy media people aren't watching as much as they used to. So podcasts have become the order of the day. So we're going to go to podcasts. We're going to go to as many outlets to get the message out to people as possible. So if you know of some good podcasts locally or across the country, I'm willing to show up and really bring the truth to folks, because that's what it's going to take, all of us. Thank you.
Good evening, Congresswoman
Good evening.
Brown. Beverly Lee Jr. is my name, from Warrensville Heights, Ohio. Fox 8 News reported at the end of the November election, 8,000 people did not vote for the president or the senators. 4,000 voted for no one. 4,000 voted write-ins. I was one of those write-ins. I'm a born-again Christian. And from May of 22, when the law passed, and I don't hate anybody, because I was in the United States Navy, and I fought for everybody. May 22, we could not vote born-again Christians because it gave men to marry men, women can marry women. Born-again Christians believe that love is in Jesus Christ, and we must follow his law first. Men marry women, women marry men only. I would rather die and go to heaven, be with the Lord under Trump, than to live on the rich thing and go to hell.
No, we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that, y'all. We're not gonna do that because this is a democracy, okay? And because we live in a democracy, people have a choice to be religious or not. So he can't, just like you don't want him to force his beliefs on you, we're not gonna force our beliefs on him. Thank you, sir. Did you have a question?
The question
Did you have a question?
The question in it is, the swing states that they reported on lost, Democratic lost by 1 to 2%. And I can almost guarantee you at least 1% of those who are not saying are born again Christians. We face the same thing from now on.
Is there a question? Because there are a lot of people waiting, and I've tried to be respectful,
no,
sir.
You're right.
Okay, so is there a question? That's who, what, where, when, why, how?
Okay, the question is there anything the LBG people can have all the rights they have except let them marry who they want and that be the difference?
I can't hear his question. I can't hear his question. Thank you. Next question.
Hi. Good to see you. Dr. Patricia Blahoviak from the East Cleveland City Council. Number one, whatever everybody else needs, chances are East Cleveland needs it more. But the reason I came, thank you everybody. The reason I came up is that today I saw an announcement in the paper online that the CDC has canceled its plan to push for influenza vaccines. And there was something that showed a lion and a kitty cat and basically said, you may still get it, but it won't be as bad. But of more concern, yesterday I'm on a list online that I found out that not only do we have measles coming, not only do we have influenza A, influenza B, all the other things, but we now have, in the state of Ohio, tuberculosis, which is a difficult disease to eradicate. It takes a long time. And we have a situation where more and more of the diseases that we know how to take care of, not only are they coming back, but they're also not being well known to all of even the medical community, much less everyone else. Do you think there's any hope for getting our communication back?
Well, doctor, you know me. I am a hopeless optimist, so I'm always going to try to find the silver lining and the bright side. It is us coming together as a community and sharing that information, so I thank you for bringing that to us, and I hope that the people in this room will also disseminate that amongst their family, friends, peers, and neighbors so that we can, in the absence of the resources that we used to have, get the information out to each other. But you can trust and believe that when I go back to the halls of Congress, that is one of the things that will be top priority on my list. Getting those channels of communication back so that we know what's happening. This is part of their tear it down, burn it up, burn it to the ground strategy. They want to flood the zone with all of the nonsense, and then we're missing critical things that have impact on our everyday life. So you get some folks, rally the troops, call, email, write, protest, but if we don't raise our voices, if we don't tell them that we are dissatisfied, we are not happy, this is not what we signed up for, they're going to go about it and just like everything is okay. So we have an opportunity to turn some of these things around. When they did that funding freeze and y'all started calling our office and the other offices, They started to backtrack a little bit on that funding freeze. So they're doing things without thinking them through. So we need you all to make sure that we hold them accountable. So thank you. Next question.
In the interest of time, please ask your question as soon as possible so we can get as many questions in as possible, 10, 15 seconds. And we're down to the last 15 minutes, so please ask your questions at the top.
Oh, my.
Good evening. Thank you for being here, Congresswoman. My name is Elaine Gimmel, and I'm the executive director of a nonprofit in Cleveland called Eden, and we focus on affordable housing. My question is if you know anything about the Continuum of Care FY24 grant agreements being processed. On January 17th, HUD announced with the Biden administration the awards for FY24 funds, and they've already been appropriated. Cuyahoga County is supposed to get $53 million, and those go to a lot of different nonprofits. These are for the homeless system, so it's rent assistance, support services, money for shelters, and we've heard that they're not being processed right now, and so we're just trying to understand if there's any updates or information from Secretary Turner to see if he was going to do that. We also understand HUD staff is being reduced, and so again, these are going to be households that rent's not going to get paid for them, landlords aren't going to get paid, and so again, just trying to understand what we can do. We've been calling, emailing, doing all the right things. I don't know if there's any other suggestions you have about advocacy, but did know if you have any idea about where those grant agreements might be.
We're tracking all those funding freezes on the form that I asked, so I don't know if you filled that out yet. If you have, great, and then just again, my staff will continue to keep people apprised as we get the information related to specific funding. So thank you, and thank you for the question.
Good evening, Congresswoman. My name is John Fosbender. I'm from South Euclid, Ohio. Yeah. I think my question is whether the Democratic leadership in Congress, not just in the House, can channel their inner Mitch McConnell and try to use every parliamentary trick in the book to stop votes from happening. No, I don't know enough about this stuff, but no unanimous consent to move things forward, make sure people have votes. I think it's incumbent upon us, because there is that trifecta that you mentioned, what can be done at the House level, what can be done at the congressional level to do that isn't being done now.
So I think thank you for the question. You scared me when you said Mitch McConnell, but okay. But there are more procedural slowdowns in the Senate. And on our side, I can assure you that we are utilizing every lever of power that we can. We are insisting that, members are present, because again, we have a very thin margin. And what that means is, on any given day, whether it's a bad cold, a banana peel, a delayed flight, can change the numbers in the House. I mean, on any given day when you have margins that close. And so we're using every lever in our power. I can't speak specifically to the Senate, but yes, I have every confidence that both the four corners, as we refer to them, which includes Leader Jeffries and Senator Schumer, will be working to do everything they can to slow down this Project 2025 agenda that they're pushing.
Mo Taylor, disabled veteran. Thank you so much for having me here, Congressman Brown. I, along with a lot of other veterans, are worried that we're going to lose our benefits. I've been 100% disabled for 16 years, and that's how I support my family. And me and my wife have always joked, unless there's a complete governmental collapse, we're going to be okay because we have this disability money coming. Is there anything advice you could give to veterans to stop? We're not on the chopping block yet, but we're all really, really worried about it. Is there any advice you could give to us as to what we can do to stop VA from being destroyed?
Well, I appreciate the question, and to your point, we haven't heard any speculation about veterans benefits. So that's, if there's some good news today, that's the good news, and I hope that they know better than to mess with our vets.
Good evening, Congresswoman. Carolyn Watts Allen. I live in the community of Huff. I'm so happy to see you here today.
Thank you.
I want to talk about something that is important that was going forward, but has been dried up by the administration. And I'm hoping you'll be able to take some action on it. It concerns the issue of the Growth Opportunities and Go Green Energy Fund. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with it?
Is that the project, the solar project?
Solar project,
Mm-hmm.
and it's more than just a solar project. It is an economic development project.
Yep.
Which will provide solar in a new fashion for 8 states, across 8 states, not just Ohio, but Pennsylvania and other states, who have come together in a consortium. The grant was a $156 million EPA award grant and a greenhouse grant reduction fund called Solar for All.
In the essence of time, I'm going to let you know, I am aware. The unfortunate news that I have right now is that funding has been blocked because, to your point, those funds were appropriated and to be allocated for underserved communities. That's the attack on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so what he has done is stripped an opportunity away for communities of color that have been disinvested, or communities that have been redlined, to be able to save money on their energy costs, y'all. That's essentially what this solar program was designed to do, to be able to put solar panels on, because why should only suburban communities have access to these benefits? So I will keep fighting for you, Sister Carolyn. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Working on this issue, I'd like to work with you on it.
Absolutely. You have my word. And you know how to find me. You see me every Sunday, ma'am.
See you on Sunday.
All right.
Hi, my name is Matthew Liu. I'm with Healthcare for All Ohioans. First of all, I want to thank you for co-sponsoring Medicare for All and fighting back against cuts to Medicare and Medicaid. My question is, in addition to fighting back against those cuts, what are you going to do to fight back against the privatization of Medicare? Because right now, already over half of our Medicare taxpayer dollars are going towards Medicare Advantage, which is run by private health insurance companies instead of traditional Medicare, and we know that that's only going to get worse under this current administration.
Well, I appreciate you bringing that up, and this is a part of their destruct and privatize plan. This is the way that they are going to put money back in their billionaire buddies' pockets. So I can assure you this is not something that I would be in support of, and I will do everything that I can to prevent them from privatizing that, sir. So thank you again for coming, and thank you for the question.
Congresswoman Brown, I appreciate having this type of meeting for people. I'm going to try to make this quick. I have some questions for you that are in parts. One, these things that you're talking about of subpoenas and legislation, are you prepared to go beyond this? Because this is not a Republican regime only. This is a fascist regime. They are bringing undisguised dictatorship. They are breaking the laws and they are changing the laws. And that the only way we can defeat this is with a mass movement of millions in the streets, making this country ungovernable. It's important that you were out there today, and you must further call people into the streets. One, he won't come probably for your subpoena because they don't care what people think. We have to make them understand that this country will be ungovernable with millions in the streets, so they cannot consolidate this fascist regime.
You are preaching to the choir, buddy. Thank you. I hope your question is good. I don't know how you're going to follow that. No, go ahead.
My name is Moshe Kovel from Cleveland Heights. I'm similar to the woman before. Our energy secretary is a climate denier who went on TV last night and said that climate change is good because plants require carbon dioxide. So the Cuyahoga County has been promised funds through the Inflation Reduction Act for solar projects. When Trump tries to stop those, are Democrats in Congress going to be able to take him to court or try to
Absolutely. We can't request people file, we can't file lawsuits ourselves, but we can be in partnership with people who approach us about that. So we are definitely, we have the power of the purse. This man is absolutely disregarding the Constitution, but this is what he said he would do. He said he wanted to be a dictator on day one, and when I was campaigning, I said, I don't know who stops at day one, but okay. And he also said that he wanted to terminate the Constitution. And I just have to say this because as we were campaigning, I felt like I was telling people, there is an arsonist outside your house with a can of gasoline and a book of matches threatening to burn it down. And people said we were being hyperbolic, that we were exaggerating, that we were liars. And the man with the gasoline and the book of matches said, you know what, this is for your car and it's gonna be cheaper to run, and these matches is just so I can see in the dark a little bit better. And now people are waking up with the house on fire, asking, what can we do? So again, as the gentleman said before, the last person, it's an all hands on deck moment. Everybody's got to be in this fight. It can't just be the 215 Democrats in the House.
Hi, Congresswoman
Hello.
Brown. Thank you so much. Really, we're fired up. My name is Judy Zivick. I'm from Euclid, Ohio. I'm a retired federal employee. I worked at Justice and the Department of Defense and Health and Human Services most recently. So I know a little bit about waste, fraud, and abuse within the government. And taking a chainsaw to it is not working.
That's
and
right.
it will not work. But I have a question for you specifically. You've sponsored some great legislation. Is it possible, with all this money that's now being saved with the 6,000 or 7,000 IRS agents being cut this week as we speak?
In the height of tax season. Tell me how that makes sense, but go on.
Is it possible to legislate that whatever money is saved from that be required to use the existing resources and target their actual audits just on the top 2%?
Oh. I love a good legislative proposal. I'll get my team on it. Thank you. Some of the best ideas come from the constituents, y'all. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Denise Smith. Thank you, Congresswoman, for having us. I have a question about the Department of Education. I know the young lady spoke about it earlier, but I have a kid that's in college. And if they dismantle that, would that affect her loans and grants? And
the Pell Grant program could be impacted by that. Yes, ma'am. So.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hello, my name is Marcy Denton, Cleveland Heights. Thank you so much for all your work, and thank you for doing this tonight. My two questions sort of wrapped into one. I keep hearing on the news about all of these Republicans that are kind of like quietly against Donald Trump, but maybe a little scared to step up. One question is, what is an efficient way to try to suss out who some of those people might be, aside from looking at voting records? Also related to efficiency, what advice do you have for when we communicate with offices? For example, I've heard phone calls are better than emails. What's the best way to format a phone call? Like, what's the best way to get the biggest bang for our buck here with our communication?
So I'll answer the last question first, which is we track it all. It all matters. We track phone calls, and I know that I've been told that some of my Republican colleagues don't answer their phones. Their voicemails are full. So when they don't answer, then the next best thing is to send them an email. I'm not opposed to our offices are open to the public. I mean, I'm not telling you what to do, ma'am. And I would also say that there are some folks that I will admit, when things started happening around the funding freeze, and I won't call out Max Miller today, because he has been helpful to me when I have questions about what the president is doing. He says, you know, I will lobby them. But there are some, and he is honestly a friend when it comes to those quiet voices, right? So there are people though, like Massey, who has said, I don't care what happens, I'm not following XYZ, or I'm not going to do this or do that. There's Chip Roy, who has openly called out Republicans on not being able to do anything or be productive. Hey, Niecy. So these are things that we can take that have been open in public, on public display on the House floor. So, but we have 2 senators here in Ohio that probably would love to hear from you.
Good evening, Congresswoman Brown. I will not give my name because my dad works for the Department of Justice. He's worked at the Department of Justice for 16 years. Right? These are the people that keep our country running. The people who actually work for the different departments of our government. People all over the Department of Justice and other federal departments are leaving because either they're scared of getting fired, or if they're not leaving now, they might get fired very soon. So my question is, after we're through this, how do we rebuild? And more than just rebuilding, how do we go further to ensure that our government is able to protect us from billionaires, from corporations, and from all these people?
Excellent question. I think we touched on Citizens United, but to your point, I think we have to put some more guardrails in place to make sure that people cannot just be terminated at will in the way that they are. The thing about it, like folks like your dad, whether he doesn't serve people because they're Republican or Democrat. He has a job to do. These are civil servants. My staff, they don't pick up the phone and say, who did you vote for? It's how can we help you? And that should be the standard. That should be the standard, not these loyalty or purity tests of partisan politics. I didn't get into this to play, to score political points. I got into this to help people. So yes, we need to get back to our why so that we don't lose our way. And we will work on some legislation to do that. Thank you for raising that point. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Congresswoman, thank you for all you do, first of all. My name is Josh Whitman. I live in Cleveland. It seems obvious to me after the past month, we're dealing with a Republican Party that is not really driven by material politics anymore. They are driven by wanton cruelty, antisocial urges. Let's call a spade a spade. This is a rot. This is a tumor on the United States. Short term, there's a lot we need to deal with. Over the medium and long term, what are we going to do about this?
Well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to come together. I don't come into these spaces pretending to be an expert or have all the answers. The purpose of the town hall was to get ideas, to see how you're feeling, and to hopefully reaffirm and reassure you that you have a representative that's willing to listen, that is taking the information in, and that will take it back to the halls of Congress and fight with every fiber of my being to make sure that we are getting the resources and the results that the Ohio's 11th congressional district not only needs, but deserves. So that is what we're going to do. Shame on us for not having a Project 2027 or a Project 2029, right? But it's not too late. They have the playbook. We can start writing ours right now. So that's what we're going to do.
I'm Rhonda from Cleveland. That's all I'm going to say. Trump is dismantling the government. He's, he's breaking laws. He's not following the Constitution. And he has control over all of our money. Is anybody trying to make a plan to be able to expedite him and Elon out of the presidency? Lawyers, you need lawyers, because he's breaking laws. The courts and the Congress are not doing it. They can't, because he's the president of the United States, so the highest seat in the world.
I got you. So again, the pressure has to be put on some of those folks on the other side of the aisle, and they do exist. I believe that that we can pick off three. I literally, and this is the honest to God truth, I can't tell you who those three are, but I do believe there are three people over there that we can eventually get to see the light of day. That is my hope. It's easier said than done. But it is a Trump trifecta. He has the White House, the House of Representatives, the Senate, and because we didn't learn our lesson in 2016, he has the Supreme Court. And so, yes, I hear you. But if we put enough pressure on the people on the other side that hold the power, because I can tell you unequivocally, Democrats are with you. I hate to say I told y'all so, but we tried to tell y'all that this was gonna happen. Some of y'all. And I know everyone did not vote for Trump, and even some of the Trump voters, I believe, did not sign up for this. So please, Get the word out. Put the pressure campaign on folks and speak up and speak out, because that is all we have. That is what it is going to take, Rhonda.
So what I'm saying is, because we can't do nothing right now, because...
Oh, you absolutely can.
But the thing of it is that he has so much control. By the time...
We can't roll over and lay down and say he has so much control.
No,
because
but...
this is the thing. He's not doing things. He's not using the proper, right? He's executive order, power of the pen. If he had the mandate that he claimed he'd have, he'd go through Congress. He'd turn these things into laws. They're not laws yet. They're executive orders. And so we have the power to get people and hold them accountable. There will be a midterm election coming up. And that campaign started November the 6th for me, okay? So there's an election coming up in 2027 where we can hold these people accountable. So don't give up. I need y'all to keep the energy, because what happens too many times is we get tired, we get complacent, we lay down, we like, I can't do nothing. Each drop in the bucket fills the bucket up. Every one voice makes the pool bigger and bigger. So don't count yourself out, Rhonda.
Okay, so this is what I'm looking for you to be able to do, is to make sure this doesn't happen again. Put it in law.
We are learning as we go, Rhonda, because the founding fathers I don't think the founding fathers thought that we would elect a 34-time convicted felon. So when you get somebody in office who is a known criminal, we got to expect them to commit crimes, but we got to be ready to get gangster right along with them. That's the most I can say right now, Rhonda, okay?
Good evening, Congressman Brown.
Good evening.
I'm a newbie here, and I appreciate that you're spending time with citizens like myself. I realize you brought up the wealth and income gap, and my name's Monica Woodman. I'm with the Center for Economic and Social Justice, and they're headquartered in Arlington, Virginia. And we have an ad in the USA Today Black History Month's magazine. We also have proposed legislation, the Economic Democracy Act, that looks to tear barriers down for those that do not have past savings and have the barrier of getting lending to develop or do, participate in the economy. So I would love to share this with you. The proposal is in here. It's on page 69, and I also put the proposal right in a packet inside the magazine. I would love to share this with you.
Please do. One of my staff will come grab it off your hands, and we'll take a look at it.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Give it to one of the staff. Grab it.
We'll take it and we'll take a look at it. We'll absolutely take a look at it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take that, and then just one quick question.
Oh, there was a question? Okay, yes.
Question. I emailed you this question, and I got an invite to here, so I was really excited about that. But the question was, if Trump or Musk break any of these court orders that are on them, will they be arrested and held accountable?
Great question. I would love for that, to see that happen as well. So I'll have to check on that. But I don't have arresting authority. I'm a legislator, but I would love for that to be the case. It's going to take someone within the executive branch to execute on that. And there are people who are fed up, who I think are willing to do the job that they've been called to do. Because as many of you that are here and are angry and frustrated and overwhelmed and agitated and annoyed and angry, they haven't gotten rid of all the people over there, all right?
Hi, Congresswoman. My name is Antonio Morales. I'm a veteran. I'm also a former paramedic, current biology student at Tri-C. You said earlier that there's been no talk about veterans' benefits being affected currently. However, on February 14th, the Department of Education issued a Dear Colleague letter where they kind of outlined their agenda to begin cutting funding, federal funding to colleges across America, starting on March 1st. The GI Bill is a federal fund, and it is also a veterans benefit. So this is something that I kind of foresee being cut around March 1st when we start to get into these Department of Education cuts to college institutions around the world. Is there a plan to prevent this? Is there a plan to fight back once it starts going into motion?
Thank you for raising that. So it's clearly it's not a legally binding document. It's a letter. It is simply a letter. And so yes, you can count on us to continue to push to make sure that we are protecting those resources that have served as tremendous benefits to people who have sacrificed for this country. So thank you.
Harriet Applegate, Cleveland Heights. Trump has broken all the rules, breaking all the laws. The lawlessness is unbelievable. And I think the frustration of the American people is that I think the perception is that the Democrats are, still acting appropriately as if everything has not changed, and everything has changed. So I would implore you and ask that you join with your colleagues to think outside the box, spend as much time as possible. I'm not asking you to be lawless like they are, but there have got to be creative tactics and strategies. An example of this might be, for instance, holding hearings where it's not the Congress people or the senators that are that are being featured, but ordinary citizens who've lost their jobs, who've spent, scientists, people from the Forest Service, people from all manner of, because people can relate to people's stories. And I encourage you, if you were to hold these hearings, they might not be official hearings, but they would get a lot of media. And I think all we need to do is show the American people the picture of how deep and wide and devastating all this is.
Thank you, Harriet. Thank you. So that is a great idea. The Democratic Women's Caucus have already started to target some of the vulnerable Republican areas and having hearings in those communities. So yes, we are going to do that.
Hello, Congresswoman. My name is Sateria Cox. I'm in Warrensburg Heights. I'd like to know, are you going to stand your ground as far as these tax cuts when they come up?
Is that a real question? Of course.
I just want to make sure. I want to make sure that you do that. You and the rest of the people that's in Congress that,
Listen, they proposed $230 billion to SNAP cuts last Congress. I voted against that, so you can rest assured. We've been sounding the alarm on this, so follow the money. They are trying to do right there. I am working non-stop to try to prevent these terrible things from happening. So yes, you can rest assured that I will be fighting again with every fiber of my being to protect y'all and to protect us from these egregious and erroneous executive orders and illegal.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Red from Lakewood. I'm sorry. I'm transgender and I'm really scared about the future. I can't even vote yet, and I want to be able to have an adult life where I'm not always scared and in hiding. And is there any hope for us?
Thank you. I think you can feel the hope and love in this room right now. We are here for you. We are going to fight for you. We are going to support you and make sure that you continue to enjoy all of the freedoms and rights as the rest of us. So absolutely.
Hi, Congresswoman Shontel Brown. My name is Victor from North Collingwood. And I want to just point out that two of Trump's generals, Mark Milley and Mark Kelly both refer to Trump as a fascist to the core of fascist. Can you say the same?
I agree. Fascist to the core, absolutely. And that's probably a compliment from me, but go on.
Congresswoman Pat Cleary, also from Lakewood. There's only two of us here tonight. But anyway, real quick, I need your confidence that you can get those 3 votes. I really feel like there's people in the Republican Party that can man up. Also, birthright was in the news again. It's getting close to real problems. What's your thought on that, and where's that going?
So I have a simple philosophy. If you're born in America, you're an American citizen. And citizenship for your children born in America is a basic constitutional right. This guy, again, I mean, we're all here because we are concerned that he is not abiding by the Constitution, which is why we have to do everything we can to show, again, our dissent, our displeasure, and dissatisfaction, because we are going to uphold the Constitution. We're going to do everything that we can. So thank you for the question.
Congresswoman, thank you for your time this evening. My name is Diana Taylor. I'm from Cleveland Heights. I'm an educator in higher ed. And you mentioned earlier tonight the Dear Colleague letter that has come down to higher education. And I teach gender and women's studies. I teach critical race studies. And I'm very concerned about the future of my program. I'm the director of the Gender, Sexuality, and Women's Studies program. We're meeting next week to talk about that letter. And I was just wondering if you had insight as to whether we are going to have to dismantle these programs or if we should leave them in place and push back against this.
I would certainly encourage you to leave them in place. But this is the thing that, you know, Trump is so duplicitous and does some things that are very confusing. Like today, he was in the White House celebrating Black History Month. Can y'all believe it? But you want to dismantle all of the DEI and accessibility. So diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. So I am inclined to believe that you should continue to move forward, push back until you hear otherwise. I know there are some institutions who are taking precautions because their funding is being impacted. And so I would certainly take that into consideration. But education is key. It is the one thing that levels the playing field when it comes to this country. And when they try to erase the things that give us that equality, it is definitely an attack on everybody. So please, please, please continue to educate and use every mechanism you can to get that information out to people. Thank you.
Good evening, Congressman Brown. Welcome. Thank you for being here. My name is Cynthia Ball, and I'm actually a sitting board member for the Westside Catholic Center in downtown Cleveland, which is a nonprofit organization. And what I wanted to share with you is that we do really good work in the community. And as you know, the state came out with their budget of $2.1 billion surplus. Would you be able to fight for nonprofit organizations, so we can retain the work that we do in our community?
That is one of the things that I need you to go to that document and share with us so that I have the statistic, the data to be able to present to folks. Because anecdotals, and I heard in my meeting that this was going to happen, does not work. So please, 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 please utilize the form so that we have a mechanism to track and to also advocate best for you.
Election that happened, I've been a lifelong Democrat all of my life. And this past November, I found out that somebody down at the Board of Elections changed my party affiliation from Democrat to unaffiliated. And as you know, as an unaffiliated party, you can only vote for issues. You cannot vote for president. I wasn't able to vote. So is there any way that you can look into that?
Was that during the primary? Because
no, the election that we just had in November, right.
If you are an unaffiliated voter, you should have been able to vote for the entire ballot regardless of party affiliation. So something sounds erroneous there. We can talk offline, but no, that should not have happened. During the primary, you are required to identify your party affiliation because we are you can only vote either Democrat or Republican in the primary, but if you haven't voted in a primary for maybe say 4 primaries, 2 or 3 consecutive primaries, the Secretary of State will take steps to remove your party affiliation, and if you haven't voted in so many elections, he will remove you from the voter rolls. Next question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Shontel Brown, I'm a congressperson. Thank you for being here. And I don't have a question. And both of my girls are educators. But I'm looking around at these people. I'm a senior citizen, and I see some young people here. And you know what? I have the love for people and their children. You know, Rome was the greatest empire. You got some history people here. It failed. You better be careful. America is a great country. If you don't do anything, remember Rome. It failed.
That's right.
And it's in a bad situation.
It's a democracy only if we can keep it.
You're gonna have to fight for democracy.
So I can get to the questions. I thank you, ma'am. I really do. I just want to try to answer because my staff told me about 10 questions ago we only had 2, but I want to do my best to try to answer all of your questions. So if you can keep them brief, I'll try to keep my answers short. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Vanya, and I'm from Willowick. I became a United citizen of the United States. Sorry, I'm nervous. So I made it a point. I came over 30 years ago. I came from Germany here to the United States because I was under the believing that this is the land of freedom. This is the land where I can blossom as a child who has no parent, but has 2 children. And my oldest one is now a chef, and I'm proud of him. But I got to see you the first round actually 2 years ago. And I was very impressed. And I want to thank you for that. But I am also a service dog trainer for the veterans, first responders, and fire military. My question becomes, what will you do for the veterans that are struggling in having service animals as their care services? My problem really is that the Veterans Affairs are not offering enough for our military. I am not a military person, but I work for them because I truly believe that every soldier that died on here for this country, or it doesn't matter what land they came from and served their country, they deserve to be recognized at the fullest extent, 100%.
I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you very much for that. Not an issue that was actually on my radar, but we have an amazing person in Breon Pittman who works with our Veterans Affairs, so I will ask you to connect with him afterwards so that we can try to figure out a way to be more effective in that space, okay? All right, thank you. Next, sir.
Thank you, Congresswoman, for your time today. My name is Dr. Hodana. I'm from Beechwood. I work for the Cleveland Clinic and Case Western Reserve University as a researcher. I want to ask you regarding the last steps that President Trump and Elon Musk took to damage the NIH. I think it caused damage to the research in the United States, and specifically to its 2 institutes that I work in. That's damage that get to tens or maybe even 100 million a year. That money that goes and support research and develop of medication and treatments here in this district, give people work and develop the future. I wanted to ask what you and the Congress can do to protect research in the
You'll be happy to know that I've already signed a letter. My Democratic colleagues and I have sent a letter demanding that they reverse these cuts.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hi, thank you. Carolyn Jerns, Cleveland Heights. It's my impression that the more visible we are in group, in mass, that the more effective we will be, as opposed to like me writing so many letters. Any suggestions, any way you can help us organize in that way, in a lawful, respectful way?
I am so grateful for that. So I would just encourage you to follow me on my social media platforms, and when I do things like this, you help me spread the word. When I am involved in other unofficial events, we have channels for that as well, so please follow me on all social media platforms, and when you see it, spread it and join me, and let's show up in mass numbers. I thank you for the question. Next question.
Thank you for the opportunity to ask questions. I am a federal employee who is working in the agency that has the mission of serving our veterans. And as we face our fork in the road letters and all of the other executive orders that come to us each day, I started to look for the Democrats online, listening to Congress, congressionals and the Democrats addressing the Congress. And then I saw the press conference for H.R. 40 from the Democrats. And as a black person, I would love to see reparations. Have always, since I was in high school, wanted to see it. But I wanted to know, is this the best time, with all the other fires going on, for Democrats to attack that issue? I wanted to see if you would ask them to not make it disappear, but to consider delaying their efforts for reparations and solve some of the bigger issues that are happening right now.
Duly noted. Thank you. Next question.
Hello, my name is Asharika. Am I too close? My name is Asharika. I'm here today with my daughter. We live in Cleveland, Ohio. Thank you for everything that you're doing. This is our first town hall. And I found out about this town hall about an hour before it started. Earlier today, my daughter and I was watching Ruby Bridges, the movie.
Yes.
And I decided I want to be on the right side of history. So that's why we're here today.
Thank you.
I am deeply concerned about this Trump regime and what the cuts they're trying to do as far as education go with my child. My question, though, is two. When is the next town hall? Can we have a town hall where we are addressing what we can do to sustain ourselves? We have to fight this, I agree, on all levels, right? Those 3 points that you made earlier. But I want to know, what can I actively do besides protesting? That's necessary. Besides writing on the website that you said where we share our stories, that's necessary. But I want to know, what can we as a community do actively to get people involved and to sustain ourselves until this mess is cleared up, because we will win the battle eventually. But until then, what do we do? Because I'm tired of scrolling on Instagram and sharing stories.
Got it. Duly noted. Thank you. Don't know when the next town hall will be, but again, follow me on social media platforms, and because I'm here, I split my time between here and Washington, y'all, so it's hard for me to be the convener consistently in this space. That's why I'm challenging you all to get to know each other, to hold each other accountable, to uplift and amplify the message, because it can't just fall on Congresswoman Shontel Brown. Y'all are here for a reason. Keep the same energy in 2026.
Hi, Congresswoman Brown. Thank you for having this. I really appreciate it.
Y'all already fizzling out. Go on.
I don't really have a question. I have more of a solution. As you just said, like what she said, what can we do? My name is Nikki Ming. I grew up in Cleveland. I now live in Euclid. I partner with my associate in Maryland, and he has a commercial loan business. So I work for EMS Commercial. I'm a commercial loan officer, and we do have several different programs that make it easy to buy investment properties, to fund your rehab project and things like that. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that that opportunity is there, and make sure that, you guys know I give you my contact, and this is a way that we can take back our city, fix the abandoned homes, things like that, and keep our own money flowing in our community, because we don't know when, other things are going to get cut off. So
Appreciate
I am glad
that.
to help.
Thank you. Questions? Looks like we're down to our last two. Come on, y'all. Come through for me.
Hi.
Quickly.
Thank you, Congresswoman, for being here and for taking all of our questions. My name is Brandy Baker. I'm a higher ed and diversity professional for over 15 years, Director of College and Career Readiness at Tri-C Community College. My concern is about the rollback of the Federal Department of Education and seeing the parallels here in the state of Ohio with Senate Bill 1. It seems like a lot of the same things happening federally is also beginning to happen on a state level, particularly how it's affecting pathways into different industries such as healthcare, not being able to teach about racial health equity. We have a severe problem even in the city of Cleveland about infant and maternal mortality in Black women. What can be done on a federal level to make sure that these rollbacks are not just happening, like you said, erroneously, but like that they're being intentional to understand that diversity in education and workforce is really important to addressing social issues that happen in the world.
Thank you. So telling your story is very important. Again, I can't overstate the importance of the portal that we've set up because I understand, and it takes people who have that shared lived experience. The turnover in Congress is pretty high. When I share this story often, when I first came in, I was 434 out of 435. 1 year later, I was 353 out of 435. That's how many people either decided to run for a different office, retired, or were retired by the people, right? And so in those situations, it makes it incredibly difficult to build relationships, but it also provides opportunity to change the landscape. We get every 2 years, so we don't need term limits because we got every 2 years, we got to fight for these jobs. So it provides an opportunity to get people in these spaces and places that share our life and lived experiences. In the entire history of Congress, of the 200 plus years and the 12,000 people that have served in this esteemed body, there has been less than 60 Black women in the entire history. So I hold this responsibility with the highest regard, and I will promise you every chance I get to address health disparities as it relates to Black women personally, that is, I will definitely be a champion and a voice, regardless of how they try to dismantle, destroy, or eliminate the platforms and programs for us to do it. I think we have 1 and 2. 1? Okay, great.
Hi, my name is Lynn. I'm from Cleveland. Real quick, I would like for you to consider a couple things. One, I think it would be really helpful for the public if the Congress or whomever could host press conferences every day like what happened in New York with Andrew Cuomo. He came on TV every day at 12 o'clock to talk about what's happening, where they're going, how they're remedying the situation. Part of my problem is trying to keep up with stuff coming from every different direction. So if there's a way to host a press conference every day to talk about whatever new issue it is and what you guys are going to do about it, I think would be helpful. And then 2, I don't know, I haven't visited your website yet, but I would like to see listed all organizations like Indivisible or the NAACP.
We can't use our platform for that, but I appreciate that though. I hear where you're going. So we can't use our platforms, but that's another way when people are asking, what can you do? Can you list some of those again for me? What would you like to see?
Indivisible, any of the local NAACPs, urban leagues, your church. What is your church doing? Download the app, 5 calls. It gives you who your representative is. They even give you a script to talk about on the telephone.
Preach, teach the people.
Who to email. I think part of the problem is people want to do something, they just don't know what to do.
Yeah, so from here, I can't tell y'all to do that, but I appreciate you sharing that information with everybody. So thank y'all so much for all of you that hung in here with me to the very end. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate y'all. Stay in the fight. this is not over. So I have some closing remarks. I just want to thank everyone at CMSD for helping with this event this evening. I want to thank the security officers. I want to thank my staff. I want to thank the volunteers. If we couldn't get to your question or you were a little too shy, you can call my office, 216-522-4900, or visit my website at shontelbrown.house.gov. As I said at the beginning, I'm so inspired to see so many people here. You have truly blessed my spirit and given me strength, so I am ready to go back and fight in Washington. So thank you, thank you, thank you.